Today, we are diving into a vision that is, well, it's pretty out there in the best way possible. We're talking about something that brings together outer space, artificial intelligence, and indigenous sovereignty. It's a plan to build the very first indigenous-owned AI data center in orbit. Yeah, you heard that right. And this whole incredible idea, it really starts by asking one simple but very powerful question. So, to really get why putting a data center in space is so revolutionary, we have to grapple with this tough question. As all these huge corporations and countries are rushing to commercialize space, are we just making the same mistakes all over again? Is this just colonialism, but with rockets? This is really the core issue we need to unpack. And look, the stakes could not be higher, because whether we're talking about on the ground or up in orbit, data is the new oil. It is, hands down, the most valuable resource of our time. And just like with oil, there's a massive risk that we're just going to repeat those old patterns of extraction, where valuable resources are taken from indigenous lands and people without their say-so and without them seeing any of the benefit. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. Look at the difference between a data center on Earth versus one in space. On the ground, your data is subject to what's called the law of the soil. Basically, whatever country that server sits in, that government has control. It's vulnerable to spying, political games, you name it. But in orbit, that's a whole different ballgame. You get jurisdictional autonomy. It's the ultimate air gap, a physical separation from any single nation's control. And this isn't just some theoretical what-if scenario. This quote nails it. The new space race could very, very easily become a new age of digital colonialism. It's a direct threat to what's called indigenous data sovereignty, which is the fundamental right of indigenous peoples to control their own information. So what do? Well, the solution here is a complete paradigm shift. Instead of trying to build a stronger vault on the ground where it can always be broken into, you just move the vault. By putting an AI data center into orbit, indigenous nations can actually take back control of their most valuable digital assets. It flips the whole script on data sovereignty. All right, so this whole incredible vision is built on three really powerful pillars. The first one, as you can see, is all about connecting nations. And this isn't just some abstract concept. This is about creating real, tangible value on the ground, right from the get-go. The secret sauce here is a technology called direct-to-cell, or DTC. Think of it this way. It basically turns the satellite into a cell tower in space. And the truly amazing part? It allows any normal smartphone, the one you have in your pocket right now, to connect directly to it. No special dish, no fancy hardware needed. For remote communities that have been left behind, this is an absolute game changer. And the business model behind it is just brilliant. It's a 2-for-1 deal. First, the internal service. Indigenous nations get to become their own network operators. That means guaranteed connectivity for things like emergency services or just running their own governments. But then, the external revenue part, they can lease any extra bandwidth to big global telecom companies for roaming services. That money then flows back to subsidize the network for their own people. It's a self-sustaining economic engine. Okay, so once you've got connectivity locked down, we move on to the second pillar, the knowledge economy. This is where the vision really starts to expand, turning the data itself into an incredibly powerful asset, both culturally and economically. Now, the foundation for all of this rests on a set of principles called OCAP. It stands for ownership, control, access, and possession. In simple terms, it means indigenous peoples have the final and absolute say over their data, period. This is the bedrock of the entire project, totally non-negotiable. So, how does this work in the real world? It's called a compute-to-data model. Let me walk you through it. Step 1, you secure the data. We're talking priceless cultural treasures like language archives or traditional ecological knowledge. It all goes into the secure orbital vault. Step 2, an outside researcher or an AI company wants to use that data. They have to apply for permission. But here's the absolute key. Step 3, their algorithm gets sent up to the satellite to run on the data there. The raw data never leaves indigenous control. It never comes down. Finally, step 4, the results are sent back down, and any profits from that, like royalties, are shared directly with the community. It completely revolutionizes ethical data use. And the economic potential here is just massive. We're talking about a potential for over $100 million a year. That's from licensing unique AI models built on this one-of-a-kind data, models for everything from language preservation to climate science. This isn't just a service, it's a brand new ethical and sovereign knowledge economy. This brings us to the third and honestly maybe the most mind-blowing pillar of them all, the biocultural arc. This is where we stop thinking about it as just a server in the sky and start seeing it as a tool for preserving life itself. I mean, think about it. We have these amazing biobanks on Earth, right? Like the famous Svalbard seed vault, but they're vulnerable. I mean, Svalbard itself has already flooded because the permafrost is melting. But space is stable. It's naturally freezing cold, and it's secure. It is the ultimate off-site backup for our planet's precious biodiversity. So what would you put in this biocultural arc? Well, things like seed banks, especially for indigenous crops that are naturally resilient to climate change. You could store the DNA of endangered species. And get this, you could even use it as a lab hotel for things like stem cell research, because the microgravity in space allows you to do things that are incredibly difficult or even impossible to do down here on Earth. So I know what you're thinking. This all sounds incredible, maybe even a little like science fiction. But is it actually achievable? The answer is a resounding yes. And the plan to get from this amazing vision to a working reality is just as impressive. The whole plan is backed by some seriously compelling numbers. I'm not going to read the whole chart to you, but just look at the trajectory here. Across all these different revenue streams, connectivity, AI licensing, even things like climate finance, you see this massive growth, scaling up into hundreds of millions of dollars within a decade. And it's not just a wish and a prayer. There's a clear, phased roadmap. It starts smart, on the ground, by setting up the rules and a terrestrial hub. Then you move to an orbital pilot, and from there you scale up, eventually creating a global indigenous space industry. It's a step-by-step plan that makes this huge vision feel totally grounded and achievable. And here's what that growth looks like in one simple chart. You can just see the sheer economic power of this thing over time. It's an exponential curve, growing from a few $1,000,000 in the first couple of years to a potential of over $800 million in the long term. This proves there's a clear path to becoming totally self-sufficient and economically empowered. So what's the big takeaway here? What does all of this really mean? Well, this project is about so much more than just satellites and computer servers. It's about genuine economic self-determination. It's about true digital and cultural sovereignty. It's about paving the way for indigenous-led climate action, creating a brand new ethical model for how we use technology, and crucially, creating pathways for indigenous kids to get into science and tech. Ultimately, this whole vision forces all of us to ask a really fundamental question. As we build the future, are we going to keep going down this path of extraction, or are we going to choose a new path, a path of stewardship? This project offers a pretty powerful and very hopeful answer.